These days, we eat just about everything. In Thailand, if it moves, chances are it ends up in a hot pot. But once upon a time, the roles were reversed. Thousands of years ago, it was everything else that ate us. Back then, humans weren't top predators. We weren't at the top of the food chain. We were the breakfast, lunch, and snack for anything with claws, fangs, or the speed to outrun a trembling biped hiding in the bushes. And yet, somehow, our ancestors survived. They didn't just escape the jaws of predators, they lived long enough to have kids, who had kids, who had kids, until eventually, you were born. And me. Back then, survival didn't mean landing a scholarship or dodging traffic. Survival meant not getting eaten, not being torn apart while you slept, not being stalked on your way to fetch water, not becoming the poop of something bigger, faster, and angrier than you. I once saw a child scream bloody murder when someone took their cookie. You think that's just toddler drama? No, that's ancient survival instinct. It's the howl of a tiny creature who, in another life, had to fight off cobras, eagles, and hungry wolves just to stay alive. Deep down, it's still in all of us. A little velociraptor, wearing yoga pants, snarling at the world. So, you're walking. The sun is low. The trees are closing in. You're barefoot, remember? Your skin touches the earth the way it did for thousands of years. No boots, no steel, just toes on dirt, and something watching. You feel it before you see it. There's this hum in your bones, a presence. Your eyes dart, and then you realize it's not one thing hunting you. It's everything. That crackle in the bushes could be a giant constrictor wrapping around you before you even finish your last sentence. That chirp from the treetop? Not cute. It's a signal. Raptors didn't go extinct overnight. Their smaller cousins learned patience. And the footprints you stepped over just now? Those weren't yours, and they're fresh. Archaeologists once found the remains of a child in Olduvai Gorge with puncture marks from a giant eagle's talons in their skull. That's not myth. That's Monday, 1.8 million years ago. That was breakfast. Historians are still debating whether early hominins were prey more often than predators. Spoiler, they probably were. You don't have claws, you don't have speed. What you do have is anxiety, and that's the most prehistoric survival trait of all. You crouch near a tree trunk, trying to be still. Don't breathe. Okay, breathe but quietly. That rustle again. Your hand reaches for a stick. It's not sharp. It's not even that heavy. But it's something. Now imagine this moment stretched across tens of thousands of years. Humans didn't invent gods because they were bored. They invented gods because they needed something to beg while crouching in the dark. You listen. You wait. Eventually the thing passes this time. But your scent's in the wind now. Something else catches it. And it's bigger. Ever heard of the short-faced bear? It stood taller than a modern-day grizzly and could run faster than Usain Bolt. It had a nose that could smell a carcass 20 kilometers away. That's over 12 miles. For the metrically challenged, you climb a tree. Bad idea. That just makes you an appetizer on a stick. Okay, fire. That's your only hope. But your hands are shaking. Your flint's damp. And did I mention the firewood is wet because, of course, it just rained? You're not getting out of this because you're brave. You're getting out because you're lucky. That's how most of our ancestors survived. Not through courage, but statistical error. Eventually, the stars come out. They're beautiful, but don't let them distract you, because behind every starry night was a lurking shadow. And under every full moon, some early human was whispering, "Please not me, please not me, please not me," as twigs snapped in the dark. They say fear sharpens the senses. That's cute. Prehistoric fear invented the senses. You lie awake, one eye open, trying not to sneeze or snore, because you know the rule. If you're not the predator, you're the prey. And tonight, everything in the forest has skipped breakfast. You think you're safe now, don't you? Trees behind you, stars overhead, nothing growling nearby. But then you step out onto the open plains. Ah, fresh air. You stretch your back and look across the wide grasslands of ancient South America. And that's when you see it. It's not a lion. It's not even a reptile. It's a bird. Yeah, a bird. Except it's 9 feet tall. It doesn't fly. And it's running directly at you. Welcome to the world of terror birds, or as scientists politely call them, Forus racids. They look like they've escaped from a Jurassic Park reboot. Massive legs, axe-shaped beaks, eyes that scream, no empathy. and they ran faster than a horse. You, barefoot and slightly traumatized, you don't stand a chance. The ground trembles. You can hear its claws slicing the grass with every thunderous stride. Your brain's yelling, "It's just a bird," but your intestines are already writing their will. You run. Not because it'll help, but because it's what you're wired to do. Terror birds didn't just peck, they shattered skulls. One fossil shows a skull fracture consistent with a single strike from a curved beak, clean, deep, and fatal. Historians are still debating whether these creatures primarily hunted or scavenged. But when a bird taller than your fridge comes at you like a linebacker, does it really matter? You dive behind a boulder. The bird skids to a stop, eyeing you with that side glance all birds use when they're plotting your demise. You wonder if flapping your arms will scare it. You wonder if playing dead will work. You wonder if you should have taken up accounting instead of time traveling to the Miocene. Here's the fun part. This is one of those moments where evolution flips a coin. You either get eaten or you get smart. You grab a handful of pebbles. Not much, but you aim for the eye. Thunk. It screeches, stumbles just enough time for you to bolt. Your feet barely graze the earth. You fly. Not literally, but your panic makes up for physics. Eventually, it gives up. You're not worth the calories. That's the first rule of staying alive in prehistory. Be annoying to eat. You collapse in some tall grass, trying not to weep too loudly. A beetle crawls up your leg. You don't even care anymore. You just stare death in the beak. Now let's talk about what else roamed here, because terror birds weren't flying solo. You had the giant ground sloths, cool, unless they accidentally sat on you. Saber-toothed marsupials. And of course, the car-sized armadillo known as Glyptodon. Not a predator, but if one rolled over your tent at night, you'd become part of the sediment record. Also, the insects. Remember how I said you collapsed in the grass? Well, guess what's attracted to your sweaty prehistoric skin? Botflies, mosquitoes the size of small coins. Centipedes that don't believe in personal space. You itch, you scratch, and you whisper to yourself, "Birds. I'm being hunted by birds." Somewhere out in the distance, you hear a scream not yours this time. Maybe another poor soul met the beak. Back at the campsite, if you ever make it back, you'll try to explain what happened. But your clan won't believe you. One guy will say, "Bro, birds eat seeds." Another will go, "No way something with feathers can kill a man." And you'll just sit there, staring into the fire, slowly turning your meat on a stick, and whisper, "They run faster than horses." Someone will ask what you're talking about. You won't answer, because the second rule of surviving prehistory: don't speak of the things that stared back. Now let's get a little weird. Did you know that some terror birds might have communicated with low-frequency rumbles like elephants do today? Imagine standing in tall grass and feeling the predator coming before you see it. That's not just science fiction, that's fossil-based acoustics. The kind of thing that makes your eardrums tingle and your knees fail. Still think birds are harmless? Chickens are descendants of dinosaurs, buddy. And sometimes they remember. You remember too. You remember the curve of that beak, the flash of those talons, the way its eyes locked onto yours, like it already knew your weaknesses. And now, every time you hear a pigeon flap in a parking lot back home, you flinch. We didn't just inherit tools and language from our ancestors. We inherited their fears, and those fears were earned. Because when giant birds stalked the earth, the sky wasn't your escape, it was your warning. You think you've learned your lesson. Stick to the trees, avoid giant birds, keep your anxiety levels at a healthy prehistoric maximum. So now, you're walking along a riverbank. The water sparkles in the sunlight. It's calm, peaceful. Your reflection almost smiles back. And then, the water moves. Not a ripple, not a fish. A shadow, something massive and silent, glides just beneath the surface, so slowly it looks unreal. You freeze, halfway crouched. Your instincts yell, "Run," but your body has already declared martial law. You can't move. Then it surfaces. It's not just a crocodile. It's a Deinosuchus. Imagine a reptile the size of a city bus, jaws wide enough to swallow you and your trauma. It doesn't hiss. It doesn't growl. It just stares, like a scaled demon from the underworld that hasn't had breakfast. You remember learning somewhere that modern crocodiles can sprint at 17 miles per hour. Deinosuchus? Scientists estimate it could walk faster than you. Yes, walk, with those stubby murder legs. So you take a gentle step back, pretending that maybe, just maybe, you're part of the foliage. Then it lunges. And this is how you learn the third rule of prehistoric survival. Never trust calm water. You trip. Of course you do. Mud flies. You scramble uphill, slipping, gasping, regretting every decision you've made since climbing out of that tree last night. The Deinosuchus crashes through the reeds, jaws open like two tectonic plates, snapping down on the air just a breath behind your spine. You make it to dry land by pure chaos energy. Your shin is bleeding. Your foot is throbbing. But you're alive. Barely. You collapse again. You do that a lot in this era. Here's the wild part. Deinosuchus didn't just eat fish. Its teeth were crushing teeth. Paleontologists found dinosaur bones with bite marks that match the curvature of its jaws. Dinosaurs. That thing hunted dinosaurs. And now, it's hunting you. Historians are still debating whether humans evolved near waterways to access resources, or because we were trying to see the predators coming. Rivers gave us fish, yes, but they also gave us nightmares. Half of human mythology begins with, there was a monster in the water. You know where that came from? Deinosuchus, Sarcosuchus, Purosaurus. All real. All capable of dragging you into a watery grave before you could even scream, "Mom, I..." You hobble away from the river, cursing the mud, the reeds, and the betrayal of what looked like a nice place to wash your face. You find a ledge, a rocky outcrop with a view, and collapse there, panting. From here, you can see the whole valley. Herds of grazing animals, birds overhead, even the occasional distant bellow of some unknown thing. But it's under your feet that you still feel it. The rivers rumble, the memory of massive jaws, dripping with the calm confidence of apex predation. And here's a fun, off-topic fact. Crocodile dung was once used by ancient Egyptians as sunscreen. Yep, that's real. Archaeologists found recipes. So while you're trying to not become reptile chow, somewhere in the future, humans decided smearing croc poop on your face was a good idea. Maybe survival made us weird. Maybe we've always been that way. Anyway, you're hungry now. But guess what? No one hunted near water after sunset. That's when the real monsters came. You'll have to wait it out, stomach growling, eyes wide, holding a rock you don't even believe in. That's the other thing predators like crocodiles teach you. Patience. They don't rush. They don't waste energy. They just wait for you to make a mistake. Kind of like your ex. By morning, the Deinosuchus is gone. Probably. You don't actually check. You just move fast and quiet, feet blistered, but alive. That's good enough for today. But the river stays with you. Even decades later, when you're telling stories to your grandchildren around a fire, you'll pause near the part about the crocodile. Your hands will shake, your voice will drop, and someone will laugh nervously, not realizing that you never actually saw it leave. Maybe it still lives there. Maybe it remembers. Maybe, deep down, so do you. You finally make it to camp. Your clan, those half-dressed, soot-covered legends, are gathered in a rough circle around a flickering fire. Someone's chewing something that might have once been a squirrel. Someone else is poking the flames with a stick like it owes them money. You sit down, breathing hard, shaking, wet from river panic and coated in enough dirt to qualify as a root vegetable. Someone tosses you a chunk of roasted meat. You don't ask what it is, because tonight, you are not the only one watching the fire. See, fire is a funny thing. It gives you heat, light, a sense of control, but it also marks your location like a neon sign. And in the prehistoric world, a neon sign means free buffet for carnivores. That snapping twig behind you? Normal. That soft growl on the edge of the firelight? Not normal. You peer into the dark, squinting. Your eyes try to adjust, but the fire's betrayed you. Your pupils are useless now. All you see are dancing shadows. But the hyena sees you just fine. Modern hyenas are already unsettling. Prehistoric ones? Welcome to Pachycrocuta brevirostris, aka the giant hyena twice the size of modern ones, jaws capable of cracking elephant bones, and a laugh that sounds like it's mocking your survival rate. And they don't hunt alone. One enters the firelight, another appears behind it, a third from the other side. You stand up slowly, holding your meat chunk like it's going to help. Someone whispers, "Don't run." Someone else is already running. Fire crackles. Your breath fogs in the cold air. The hyena's pace, confident. This isn't a raid, it's a negotiation. They're deciding whether to take the food or you. Historians are still debating whether fire truly protected early humans or simply postponed their deaths. Some argue it kept predators away. Others believe it brought them in, fascinated by the light, the warmth, the scent of roasted mammal. Tonight, you're leaning toward theory number 2. You and your clan start making noise, clapping rocks, shouting, waving sticks. Someone throws a burning branch. It lands short. The lead hyena snarls and retreats 2 steps. You've bought a moment. Not safety, just a pause. You know what's out there too? Cave lions. Bigger than modern lions, with bones found deep in European cave systems. They didn't roar, they crept. And some scholars believe they might have even stalked humans into their shelters, dragging victims out like takeout orders. Tonight, it's hyenas. Tomorrow, it might be worse. You finally get the fire blazing higher. Sparks leap into the night like panicked fireflies. The hyenas, annoyed, melt back into the dark, though one lingers just a little too long. Its eyes glow with firelight reflection. And maybe hunger. Eventually, you all sit down again, pretending nothing happened. But no one talks. No one sleeps. This is how you learn rule number 4. Night belongs to the bold or the dead. You try to nap, one eye half open. Every sound exaggerated. The crack of bark sounds like footsteps. The wind in the grass sounds like breathing. Your dreams are worse. You see eyes in the dark, jaws, and worse, yourself, running, always too slow. Here's a fun, mildly disgusting fact to lighten the mood. Ancient people sometimes smeared animal fat mixed with ash on their bodies as a nighttime deterrent, not to confuse predators, but because it made them smell less like prey. Translation: you rubbed stank on yourself to survive, and it probably worked. You try it. Ash from the fire, a bit of leftover squirrel goo. You smell like a poorly made barbecue. But that's better than being a snack. You huddle under a fur pelt, watching the stars peek through clouds. One of your clanmates whispers an old story about a leopard spirit who steals souls through dreams. You believe it, because in this world, everything has teeth, even the stories, and you're just a bag of meat trying to survive until dawn. Somewhere, a distant howl echoes across the plains. Not wolf, not dog, something older. You pull the pelt tighter. You whisper a promise to your ancestors. If you survive this night, you're inventing walls. Big ones, with doors that lock. And if anyone asks why early humans became builders, just tell them about the time the fire didn't keep the monsters out. Dawn creeps over the horizon like it's too scared to show up all at once. The fire is now just a whisper of coals. Your clan is quiet. You've survived the night, but only some of you. You count heads. One's missing. No blood. No scream. Just gone. Rule 5 of prehistory? Sometimes the dark doesn't leave a trace. You stumble out of camp to track what might have taken them, and not far from the edge of the clearing, you find it. A trail of deep, deliberate footprints, and something else: broken bones. Not human. Not fresh, but gnawed clean and split down the middle, like someone opened a marrow snack bar. Whatever did that wasn't just hungry. It was equipped, with jaws that could crush bones. And that's when it hits you. This wasn't a lion. This wasn't a hyena. This wasn't even that oversized nightmare croc from the river. This was Pachycracuta, the giant bone-crushing hyena, back for round 2. These beasts had a bite force of over 8,000 newtons, roughly double that of today's strongest lions. Paleontologists have found whole fossil pits filled with shattered remains, like a prehistoric junkyard of doom. And your friend? If they were taken by one of those things, they weren't eaten delicately. They were cracked open like an egg. Historians are still debating whether these hyenas were apex predators or scavengers. But considering one of them just abducted a full-grown adult without making a sound, you're guessing apex. You creep back to camp. Your eyes meet another clanmate's. No one says anything. You all just know. The hyenas didn't leave because they lost interest. They left because they knew they'd come back. So what do? You move. Fast. Before the sun climbs high, before the scent of fear gets stronger, but every step out there reminds you you are not the biggest thing on this land. Not even close. You hear something behind you. You whip around. Nothing. But the grass. It's twitching. You pick up the pace. Your feet slap the ground with a rhythm that says, "I would very much like to not be eaten today, thank you." But the terrain turns rocky. You're climbing now, up a hill that seems made of old bones and loose gravel. And that's when it happens. A boulder shifts, except it's not a boulder. It's a giant sloth corpse. And it smells fresh, which means something just killed it. Then you see the tooth marks. Crushed femur. Spine snapped like a twig. These hyenas didn't just eat you. They disassembled you. You sit down, knees weak, thinking about how lucky you are to be bipedal and panicked, instead of flat and digested. Here's a weird tangent. Some scientists think Neanderthals used to compete directly with giant hyenas for shelter. Not metaphorically, literally, like, "You're in my cave." No, "you're in my cave" kind of fights. So not only did you have to avoid being hunted, you had to fight your landlord. The lesson? Real estate in prehistory came with teeth. And squatters' rights didn't apply when the squatters could tear your leg off. Your group keeps moving, choosing higher ground this time. More visibility, more wind, less chance of getting jumped. But as you walk, you keep hearing that sound. Crunch. Sometimes it's underfoot, sticks, bones, something brittle. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's behind you. And that's the moment you understand how your ancestors survived. Not by being the strongest, or fastest, or smartest, but by being the most paranoid. The fire didn't keep predators away. It just let you see them coming. The caves didn't shelter you. They just gave you walls to scream against. And the bone-crushing hyena? It didn't disappear. It just taught you what fear sounds like when it chews. Eventually, your group finds a ridge to rest. It overlooks a valley painted gold by the rising sun. It should feel peaceful, but all you see are shapes, potential hunters in every bush, every shadow, every flick of grass. Your friend is still gone. You try not to think about it. Instead, you whisper something to the wind. "Not me, not today." And in that moment, you realize that's not just superstition. That's a survival mantra. You're catching your breath, feeling semi-confident that giant hyenas aren't hiding in the ferns anymore, when you hear a different kind of sound. Not growling, not rustling, clinking, stone on stone. Someone is nearby, someone who isn't part of your group. You duck, crawling low through the brush like a paranoid meerkat with PTSD. And then you see him. He's human, probably, but not from your clan. His furs are stitched with strange patterns. His jaw is smeared with red clay, like war paint or something worse. He's holding a hand axe. Not casually, not for cutting wood. He sees you. You both freeze. And this is how you discover the most dangerous predator of the prehistoric world. Other humans. He smiles. But it's not the friendly kind. It's the, "I wonder how heavy your skull is" kind. You back away slowly, hands raised. Too late. He whistles. You hear more footsteps. More figures emerge. Tall, scarred, confident. Their stone weapons are polished. That's bad news. It means they've been used. Historians are still debating whether early humans were more cooperative or competitive by nature. Some say we thrived because we formed alliances. Others argue we survived because we eliminated the competition. You're about to vote for option 2. You run. Your lungs burn, your legs scream, and your brain is throwing every motivational quote it can think of at you. You've got this. Think fast. Don't die today. One of them throws a spear. It misses. Barely. You duck behind a tree and scramble up like a caffeinated lemur. You pull yourself onto a branch and flatten your body against the trunk. You can't breathe too loud. You can't move. One of them passes right underneath you. This is what people forget when they talk about early civilization. It wasn't all cave art and cooking mammoths. Sometimes, it was straight-up murder over a pretty rock. You wait, and wait. Eventually, they move on. You climb down slowly, heart thumping in your throat. Your knees feel like pudding. But you're alive. Again, and you've learned a new rule. Humans are the only animal that hunts with grudges. You start moving again, staying low, staying sharp. You don't return to your old camp. That's compromised. You circle around instead, finding a small alcove near a rock wall. There's a spring here, cool, clean water. You take a long drink, finally letting your guard drop. That's when you hear it. Footsteps. Just one. You spin around ready to run again, but it's not a stranger. It's her. From your own clan. She's been following you. Watching. You stare at each other in silence. Not quite relief. Not quite suspicion. Finally, she speaks. They killed Tura. Your stomach drops. That missing clanmate? They didn't vanish. They were taken. You sit down, too tired to scream, too wired to sleep. She hands you a stone, not sharp, just smooth, painted with dots and spirals. A message, passed down from elders. If we can't fight them, we remember them. The truth is, not every tribe played fair. Some traded, some shared. Others raided. Raiding wasn't just for food. Sometimes it was for mates, or territory, or just because. You think about how every predator before this wanted you for your meat. These ones? They want your resources, your people, your place in the world. They don't growl or bite. They plan. And that's worse. Even the animals feared fire. But these predators? They might steal it. You wrap your arms around your knees and try to sleep with your back against the rock. Tomorrow you'll have to move again. The humans are getting closer. And the worst part? You understand them. Because if it were you, if your group was starving, if your clan had been attacked first, you might be the one with red clay on your face. You wake up before dawn. Again, not because of hunger or cold this time, but because your instincts, those ancient alarms hardwired deep in your spine, won't shut up. There's something wrong with the silence. No birds, no insects, not even wind. You peek out from the rock alcove. Nothing. That's what worries you. You make your way cautiously through the mist, stepping around dew-covered stones, past the ashes of old fires. Every direction looks the same, but something feels different. Then you see them, the eyes. Not glowing, not red, just barely reflecting the grey of morning. Half hidden behind bushes. One pair, then another, then another. Wolves? Number. Canids, yes, but wilder. Older. Bigger. Dire wolves. They once roamed across what is now the Americas, twice the mass of modern wolves, and bred not for agility, but for power. Stronger jaws, heavier skulls, and a tendency to hunt in packs of 6 or more. The fossils confirm it. They didn't pick off the weak. They overwhelmed the strong. And now you're surrounded by them. You raise your arms slowly. Not that it'll help. You can't outrun them. You can't outfight them. You've got one dull rock and a rapidly unraveling sense of hope. And then they back off. One whines, another snarls. They retreat not far, but just enough to let you breathe again. Why? Because something else is coming. You turn around. You feel it before you hear it. Like a pressure drop. Like the trees themselves are holding their breath. And then it steps into view. It's not the largest predator you've seen. Not the fastest. But it has a presence, the kind that says, I've killed, and I will kill again. A homotherium, also called the scimitar-toothed cat. Smaller than the famous saber-toothed tiger, but smarter, faster, more efficient. Its saber teeth are shorter, built not for drama, but for precision. Its limbs are built like a sprinter's. It doesn't lunge, it calculates. The wolves scatter. They know better. You? You just stand there, frozen. It studies you, not like prey, like competition. And then it walks away. No roar, no chase, no attack. You're not worth the risk today. But that, look, lingers in your bones. You've been measured. You've been judged. And you barely passed. Historians are still debating whether homotherium hunted humans directly or simply took advantage of bad timing. Some say early hominins adapted their strategies because of these cats. Others argue we copied them fast strikes, calculated group movement, leaving nothing to waste. Either way, you saw it with your own eyes. And you will never forget. You sit down right there in the dirt and let the adrenaline catch up. Your heart's been running for 3 days. You finally let it rest. And that's when the realization hits you. Some of these ancient predators never left. The names changed. The shapes evolved. But the predatory strategies, the hunger, the fear, still here. Think about it. You cross a dark parking lot at night, and you walk faster. You hear a branch snap in the woods, and your stomach drops. You glance over your shoulder for no reason, just in case. That's not anxiety. That's ancestry. You didn't survive because you conquered nature. You survived because you remembered it. Even now, as you hike through the last of the prehistoric forest, you can still hear it, the rustle of grass, the low growl, the wind that doesn't blow. Everything that hunted you is part of you. And the next time you feel scared for no reason, maybe it's not for no reason. Maybe your blood remembers. Because the final rule? You were never at the top of the food chain. You just ran faster than the guy behind you. So now, you're back. You've made it out of the Pleistocene alive barely. You're scratched, tired, probably a little emotionally unstable. But you did it. And sitting here in your cozy modern life, wrapped in blankets, surrounded by snacks, maybe even binge-watching shows about other people suffering, you start to realize something. We've come a long way. No more dodging terror birds. No need to smear yourself in ash and raccoon fat to sleep safely. You're not checking the shadows for hyenas. You're checking your phone battery. And yet, the instincts haven't left. The paranoia, the flinch at a loud noise, the fear of the dark, they're not glitches in your system. They're features. Pre-installed software from a version of you that had to outrun things with teeth. So be thankful. For walls. For locks. For the fact that the only apex predator you deal with these days is your boss or your tax auditor. And hey, next time someone says humans were always meant to rule the earth, remind them, we only got here because we learned how not to get eaten. Sleep well, and if you hear a noise outside your window tonight, it's probably nothing.